It happens all around us. And so when I think about innovation, it's all about just creating something in your world that doesn't exist. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like where I start off is like what really pisses me off every day, right? Like, you know,
it's a good starting point.
You know,
it's a great starting
just to put it in layman's terms, right? Like what drives innovation? It's
Right.
just, man, this really drives me nuts every day. And what's interesting is when you look at that divide that we typically have in our own minds of this is a work thing and this is a home thing.
Yeah.
Keep them separate. When you realize that there's skills and concepts that you can bring from your work life into your home life and vice versa, I think you start to play with magic.
Hello, everyone. So I'm back today hosting this amazing conversation. Today, it's a very special episode of our Launchcast series. And I'm really excited to talk about innovation today. Really exciting. So we have a special guest with us today, which is Mr. Marvin Wong. Let me make sure I do it right because it's a very nice job title. So Marvin Wong is the Vice President of Business Intelligence, Technology, and Security at Secure Energy. And what is Secure Energy? It's a Calgary-based environmental and energy infrastructure company. They have business all over North America, over 100 facilities and 2,300 employees. That's a big deal. That's a nice company, Alberta-based. So proud of that. Welcome to Launchcode.
That's quite the introduction.
Yeah, no kidding. Thank you very much. I need to record that.
Yeah.
You should.
Just take that wherever
I was trained
go.
by David Letterman. It's not every single day.
Nice.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
And of course, as usual, we have Robbie Butchart, our amazing Chief Revenue Officer today, you know, helping out with the conversation. So welcome to Launchcast. So welcome back to Launchcast, and today we're going to talk about innovation. Okay, so one of the main reasons why Launchcode and Secure Energy has been partnering up, let me put it this way, has a lot to do with how you, as an innovative professional, sees innovation, right? So let's start with that. Let's start with, what is innovation?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think loaded. And I think when you think about innovation, there's so many buzzwords around innovation, and it's the hottest thing in the world right now. And I think it's so simple because we do it every single day, at home, at the office, in our personal lives. But for some reason, when we get into the workplace, it becomes this big thing. How do we solve innovation? Well, we do it every single moment of our life. You know, for instance, innovation could be, you know, my daughter was putting together a coloring book. She makes coloring. She loves coloring. And before, she would just get all the papers together and kind of fold the corners so you make a book. Well, this time she got a stapler and she stapled the edge together.
Yeah.
We think of that as endearing, right? Of growth and understanding how to use tools. But in her world, that's innovation.
Sure.
It happens all around us. And so when I think about innovation, it's all about just creating something in your world that doesn't exist.
That's a very interesting perspective.
Very interesting perspective.
How simple yet true.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like we overcomplicate what innovation is. And that example is at its essence, the simplest and most truest form of innovation. I find, like, even in day-to-day conversations, it's all about the next best, the next, but it's got to be bleeding edge. It's got to be something that doesn't exist. It's got to, but does it?
Yeah. And do those work?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of debate around, you know, how far do you go with innovation? Does it need to be bleeding edge?
Yeah.
Or do you understand roughly where you want to go? and you need to take 1,000 or 10,000 little innovations to get there. And you might not get exactly where you thought you were going to go, but you're going to be pretty close.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we just need to wrap our heads around of solving this. And I don't think it's really solving this. There's no one answer. It's just make every little thing that you think you can make better.
100%.
Yeah.
Right?
Is innovation always connected to the solution of a problem?
Is innovation always connected to the solution of a problem? I would say no. I would say no. Sometimes tried and true, tested ways that have worked in the past will solve the problem at hand. I think when you're starting to get into some of these more complex and unique challenges that your traditional approaches don't work, and they cause friction and they cause challenge addition to what you're trying to already solve. I think that's where you have to start looking outside the box and being more creative in the way that you approach those. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, but just a quick gut response to that is that's the feel I have.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you think about that whole process of creating something that doesn't exist, sometimes you can create it with existing processes, but sometimes you need to innovate in your own process. You need to change it, evolve it in order to get to, the desired state. And we often forget about that.
Yeah.
I want to innovate, but I want to do things the same way. Right?
Yeah.
And what's interesting about that is sometimes it is a solution to a problem, but I think the magic happens in the journey to innovate, and you'll find so many new opportunities as you redefine how you look at a problem. Right? And I think that's another key piece of just thought around what drives innovation and how do you keep it alive, and who are those people? Who are those people in the world that just drive innovation, and how did they pave a path that just didn't exist? Why were they the trailblazers, and everybody looks at them or puts them up on a pedestal? I think everyone that you can look at, whether it be Jobs or Bezos or Musk, who are just topical, in this day and age, none of them were ever afraid of solving a challenging problem. They sometimes knew the answer, they knew the solution, but more often than not, they didn't. Right?
Yeah.
And they just said, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is what I believe in. I believe that a computer will be in everybody's home at some point. Okay, how are we going to get there from, a massive computer that took up the size of this space to a phone today? Right? They didn't know how they were going to get there, but they took one little step, one little innovation after another, and all of a sudden it all comes together.
So innovation is not about solving problems, as you're saying. Innovation is a vision.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of both. I think it's a little bit of both, because those visions are a version of tomorrow, a better version of today that doesn't exist. Which then create many problems and tasks, for us to solve, right?
Do we first start with the problem, or do we first start with the visions? Does the vision highlights the problems, or does the problems define the vision? Yeah,
it's really interesting. Like where I start off is like what really pisses me off every day, right? Like,
it's a good starting point.
It's a great starting just to put it in layman's terms, right? Like what drives innovation? It's just, man, this really drives me nuts every day. And there are people that do something about it, and there's other people that, don't.
Just stick to the status quo.
100%. 100%. And I think that's what drives, different organizations and new things in this world. But I think I want to touch on that for a second. I don't think that just because somebody is not innovative at work doesn't mean that they're not innovative in their personal life.
Yeah, of course.
It just might not be how they're thinking about it or how they are wired. And that's totally okay. It's how do you then, as a leader or an organization or a peer, how do you pull on that thread of, hey, you're already doing this, you can apply it here as well.
Yeah, completely agree with that. And it's a great transition, because when you look at innovation, what we've been talking about so far has been all around solving problems within we're leaning into the business space. But when you start talking about, to your point, Marvin, of the personal space, how are you improving and using innovation in your personal space? Your daughter's example was great. You know, for me, the evolution and the innovation is, how do I learn differently? How do I create? How do I take what's created out there and absorb it to innovate what I don't know?
Yeah.
Right. It's not necessarily innovative in the fact that it's new and bleeding edge, but it's innovation in the fact that you're learning something different to change the way that you're conducting yourself.
Yeah, that's a great point. Tanis and I, we went to a conference, I think it was 3 years ago, down in Orlando, and it was for entrepreneurs. It was fantastic. And the two of us went down there and just learned and absorbed all these different concepts. And because there were 10,000 entrepreneurs down there, you know, the verbiage they would use is, you guys are trailblazers, you make your own rules, you fly, right? And there are no boundaries, like certain things like that. And that was a very work related type conference, you know, entrepreneurship, take that back into our respective organizations. But a couple months later, we have a chalkboard at home, and she wrote down, we're trailblazers. We make our own, you know, destiny. We make our own rules. And what's interesting is, when you look at that divide that we typically have in our own minds of, this is a work thing and this is a home thing, keep them separate. When you realize that there's skills and concepts that you can bring from your work life into your home life and vice versa, I think you start to play with magic. And the reason why I say that is, innovation comes when you see a gap, when you get pissed off. How do you find those gaps? Well, if my world is this, and I have my little bubble, and you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I do.
And you got your little world, Robbie, and we never talk. I'm only going to be playing my own little world, right? Yeah. I'm going to have the same ideas, and it's just gonna be in that little world of mine. Yeah. But the moment I get to know Robbie, and I truly understand what's going through his life, the things that he's learned, the industry that he's in, which is a different industry than mine, all of a sudden those two universes collide. And I learn from him, he learns from me, and all of a sudden, what happens? Yeah. You get some amazing opportunities, gray matter, if you will, between that is created. And that didn't exist before. Yeah. Now, either Robbie or I could pick that up and say, hey, let's take that. Let's bring that to fruition. That's the start of innovation. Yeah. That's something new that wouldn't have come into my life or Robbie's life. Yeah. That's how we propel our world forward.
And all started with conversation. If you think about
conversation,
open conversation,
collision,
collision,
and reconnecting.
Yeah,
100%.
You got to remember, how did we meet?
Squash.
Yeah.
Dude, come check out this place. It's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and that was it.
Yeah, there was a guy at Secure.
Yeah.
I think he played Interclub here.
He did.
He said, man, this company is a tech company. Yeah. We got a squash court. You know, Marvin, over lunch, there wasn't a squash court open downtown at the time because it was during COVID.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, let's just go have a hit. It was Tommy.
Corey.
It was Corey, us, Alberio was there too.
Yeah.
And we had a hit.
Yeah.
And then after that hit, we sat down and we just got to know each other. I had no idea who Launchcode was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No idea what you guys even did. I just said, oh, sweet, I get to play squash.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, it's like, oh, we're a custom dev shop. And this is some of our work.
Yeah.
These are some of our clients. This is our culture. Yeah. Walking around here was amazing. And when you put those things together, it's like, wow, that is so refreshing. The culture that you guys have here, the belly fire, the whole package, and seeing the work, then, next thing you know, we're doing work together.
Yeah. Yeah. And
right?
it's been fantastic. And the cool thing is that, like, take that idea of what we had in that moment, and then you add in 2 or 3 other facets of people from different walks of life. That gray matter, to your point, expands. And you have people, the belly fire thing, that's passion. It's the gas factor. It's something that allows for then that explosive creativity that just draws other areas of experience into creating something that is just so unique and powerful and different and exciting, and like you get amped about it. Like I get hair in the back of my neck starting to stand when we start talking about that, because it's so exciting. The like-mindedness that comes into that, you just got to get exposed to it.
100%. And when you start to have those conversations, start jiving, the ideas start flowing. And you know when you've struck a chord, with whoever it is that you're connecting with. You don't need to solve the world's problems at that moment in time, but keep those connections open. And they kind of come and go, and your life goes, their life goes, and then every time you connect,
at a certain point, it makes
create
sense.
new gray matter, and then the ones that makes real good sense, okay, those are the ones you take, and they're worthwhile to explore and create. And that's the exciting part. That is, you're right. You get goosebumps. You get that level of excitement. And then what follows that is, I think, probably the most scariest thing is committing to doing something about it. Because what does that actually entail? Well, what that entails is a change in somebody's life. Because I have my routine at work or personally, whatever it is. I have my routine. Well, if I'm going to pick up this gray matter or change how I run my business, that is a change now that I need to manage, where I don't know what the ramifications potentially are going to be. That's super scary. I now need to do some work. Right? That's scary. It's over.
It is.
I might not know what I'm walking into because it is brand new. So it's like walking into a new job for the very first time. Nobody likes that feeling. But in the face of innovation, that's where you need courageous people, you need courageous leadership, and people who are willing to dive so deep into this for the movement and propelling of our society forward. Without those people, you won't, and those teams, you won't move forward.
100%.
Right? But it's not easy.
No. And so question for you on that, like, you work in more of a traditional space, we'll say, and we're seeing an evolution there. Like, curious, like when we talk about this stuff, you're talking about the people coming in and doing, and you're talking about those individuals that are going to be required to have that innovation. And there's a fear associated to that. And when you see that fear, that can be a real detriment into innovation. It can be stifling and a full stop, where if they don't have that ability, that freedom to fail, and fail often, to learn and iterate and move forward. Like, how are you seeing that in the spaces that you're in the more traditional spaces? And it's not just one industry, there's many. Do you see evolution in that from that perspective?
My thought is the world is so different now in that technology is just everywhere and it's so in your face. You go to a Starbucks. I don't see, sometimes you see a line, usually there's a line, but there's a lot of people actually that just roll in with their app and then they just pick up. Okay. Are those just millennials?
Good question.
They're not.
No, not at all.
They're not at all.
It's every generation.
It's more Andre's generation.
It is more.
The realities of life prohibit you to spend that energy because you might not have the energy. You might not have all the resources. Resources is not just money.
Resource time. That's the main resource.
It's the most important resource.
100%.